Thank you.
And we are live. Hello, everybody. It's William W.J.R. Parks and Janelle Coberly back again. She was kind of hiding for a little while she did her little adventures of moving. So welcome back, Janelle.
Thank you.
And today we're actually going to have a guest that I have been following for a few years. And I've actually bought a couple of his books, especially concerning with Amazon keywords. Dale L. Roberts. Hopefully that name I don't butcher. I'm a butcherer of names, but I am so happy to have you on the show, and hopefully we can talk a little bit about the writing industry and marketing industry in general. So how have you been, and can you tell the few subscribers right now that we're building up about yourself?
Well, you covered pretty much most of it, and I think all the bright colors will distract people long enough to be like, well, he seems like he knows what he's talking about. I am Dale L. Roberts. I'm the host of a popular YouTube channel called Self-Publishing with Dale, where I teach people how to publish books that sell. And part of that process has been just kind of sharing some of my journey as an author since about, 2014 to right about now. I've published in excess of 50 titles. You're the first interview I've said I've adjusted from 40 to 50. For the longest time, I've been saying 40, and I actually had to go through my catalog, count all the books, order all of the proofs. So this entire shelf right over here are all my published works.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I physically, you don't understand what you've done until you have it physically on a shelf and you go, what the heck did I do here?
Like, where was I when I was doing this?
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I'm geeked up to be here and just to kind of talk shop with the both of you.
Yeah, it's.
I'm going to ask you a couple of personal questions too, if you don't mind.
Please, I'm an open book.
And how you got started in all of this? What prompted you? Did you begin as a writer and then rolled into it, or what happened there? How
Janelle, I'm going to give you the sad story. I'm going to give you the sad story. The sad story starts with me as a child. I was labeled as having reading comprehension issues. Right. And they held me back into another remedial reading class just so I could kind of get it. And it frustrated the heck out of me. Much so that I became obsessed. Like I do anything that I love. I became obsessed over it. And then until I finally was reading book after book after book, and I could tell you exactly what those books meant. And then that really led to me wanting to be a writer. I even went to college to become a writer, but college took it out of me. I lasted about a year and a half, and I was like, no, this is not for me. I decided I was going to do something completely different. Life led me in 20,000 different directions until I was in my late 30s, and I was working in the healthcare industry for about 20 years as an activities director. And that means that I was paid to play with senior citizens at different communities. It was awesome. Like, it was a fantastic job. I loved it. But there's still that nagging portion of me saying, man, you got to become a writer. And it wasn't until my corporate wellness coach gave me a challenge and said, you know, you're really big into health and fitness. Why haven't you ever wrote a book about it? And I was like, you know what? I will hold my beer or hold my milkshake, my protein drink. That's probably the beer. You get what I mean. So it took about a year. I wrote my first manuscript. And when I went to go publish it, came the real trouble, because I didn't have any grand illusion of like, hey, I'm going to make millions of dollars in sales and I'm going to become famous and things like that. All I did is I wrote that. And I thought, I'm just going to buy maybe like a box full of books and give it out to friends and family and maybe sell it somewhere here and there.
Yeah.
And I went to a local offset printer to get a quote from them. And when they said it was going to be, I think, roughly like $1,200 for like a box full of books, I can't remember how much it was, how many there was. I went back and I told my wife, I was excited. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to invest $1,200. And she's like, where are you going to get that $1,200 from? And I'm like, and so it was then that I did my due diligence and I stumbled on the formerly Create Space, where you used to do print books and such. And it's now, of course, been merged over with KDP and the Kindle Direct Publishing platform. And the rest is history. Honestly, all I did was the very first month, I made it like $23 and some odd cents in sales. And it was enough proof of concept to me. This is going to sound insane, please, folks. If you're watching this, you're listening to this, don't do what I did. I literally put in my 30 days notice because I believed if I can focus on this full time, I would easily be able to make the same amount of money, if not more than my regular job.
Right.
Wow. That's some dedication for
Don't put
sure.
your day job thing, huh?
Yeah, I tell you, I burnt through my 401k, my savings. We used every credit card. We were eating ramen noodles and frozen vegetables for like the longest time. It was like, oh, what are we having for breakfast? It sounds like we're having ramen noodles. What are we having for lunch today? Ramen noodles.
You must be an excellent person.
Yeah. So, I really honestly, I smell like smoke because I've been through fire. I spent the better part of about 1.5 to 2 years just trying to make sense of this business. And I had the big breakthrough in 2016. And the rest, it was just an upward trajectory. It was just keeping on top of things, keeping on writing good quality content and publishing it and trying to learn this business. And it's through that obsession that I really started to become obsessed in sharing it with other people.
Yeah.
So
now, at 16, you've published 50 books.
Yeah.
You have a top-notch YouTube site and with
Thank you.
cajillions of viewers. And here you are with us today, which is fantastic. But it's just from 16. That is very impressive.
2016 was when I started the YouTube channel. 2014 was when I actually started in the self-publishing business. But yeah, I can blame a lot of how I was able to get that volume out based on the coach that I worked with. And also, I'm super fortunate, and this is going to sound weird when I say this, and I know there's going to be a split audience when I say this. I was diagnosed with ADHD. And when I learned certain systems and a workflow, I was able to, instead of use that against me, I was able to use it in my favor. I was able to actually focus and get that extreme focus to where I could actually produce good quality content. Having a coach and having ADHD helped tremendously.
Well, I guess that's a positive of having it then.
Correct. Yeah.
That's what I was saying, turning lemons to lemonade. And
Yeah.
yeah. You really, that's wonderful. That's wonderful that you were able to do that. That's
Especially since you've been publishing, you said 2014 you started. I think I started in, the first Raven book I think was 2010 or 2011. I can't remember.
Wow.
And I just straight out threw it out there. So I was like, oh, it's done. Editors, who needs editors? I edit it fairly well. Let's throw it out there. And I was like, oh my gosh, now that I look back on it, I'm like, man, that was
cringing out your skin.
thinking?
Dude, I feel you. Actually, here we go. Hang on. It's sharing time. I'm sure you guys will love this. So this was my first book. The cover is just horrible. Now, mind you, it was a great picture because my wife actually took it, but I stretched the photo. So, of course, it looks really weird, and there's just a font on it. And, honestly, and I thought editing meant just, you go through and you just edit it, right? Yeah. I mean, you look for typos and grammatical errors. Little did I know within about, I would say it was less than a few months of me actually having that book out that I actually got in touch with an actual editor. And she tore that thing apart. I was devastated. I was just absolutely crushed. I'm like, I thought, man, I had the best book in the world. I read this thing now. I'm like, man, she was nice to me.
Yeah, right. It's amazing what you can go back and look on your first drafts and see how much you didn't see anything. I don't know what I would call it. It's like you're just blind to the work because you're so excited. It's like, I'm finally done. I got my world. I got my character. Let's throw them out there and let people enjoy it. And then you're like, who the heck wrote this? Get a review. Where'd you learn how to write? You're like, you're a 3-year-old. I was like, oh, okay, well, okay, maybe this person didn't enjoy it, but I'm sure the next one will.
Man, when we put out The Reckoning with this was my first actual published book. I was scared to death. I kept telling Will, no, wait, let's edit it some more. Let's edit it some more. And he kept saying, no, it's
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it.
You'll be
Yeah, we
stuck
have,
forever in editing for sure.
Yeah, Janelle likes to edit a lot. I will give her that, which is good at the same time. And me, I like to I have like 4 drafts that I like to do before I end up throwing it at an editor. And because at my point in time, I feel like, well, let's go ahead and finish at this section so we can get it done and start moving forward. And well, the main part after getting a book done, and you actually got all the bells and whistles, you get your editors and your proofreaders and everything done. My second part that I figured out that it was a diamond in the sand. And what I mean by that is you can have this diamond, beautiful. People that in your inner circle will probably read it, which you got to be careful with. Sometimes they're just going to give you a good review just because your friends or family with them. But the outer circle of people where you actually want to get out into the world is really hard to reach. So I don't know. Me and Janelle have gone back and forth trying to figure out things. Of course, the YouTube is one of our newest additions to our marketing. And I told her I actually spent about $3,000. I spent $3,000 during the end of last year just to figure out which marketing services, what can I do. I tried everything from Amazon keywords to Facebook ads to companies out there that were offering services. Uh-oh, somebody visiting.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to hold on. Just keep.
All right, I'll put you on mute right now. But and so I guess that was like a journey for me, trying to figure out what path do I find in marketing that can get my book out there. And I've always said, it's like a paradigm shift compared to how it used to be back in the old publishing days. You
could just publish and pray for the best, because sometimes if you just hit the right niche, you would take off big time. I know that era was still kind of prevalent in about 2014 to 2015.
Yeah,
I saw a huge shift in how it really changed in 2015, mid 2015, because in about June of 2015, I saw on the Amazon platform, they started kind of going on a witch hunt on reviews. It wasn't just product reviews, but it was also Amazon book reviews as well. And so they were going through and trying to put out ne'er-do-wells, the bad actors and such. Shortly after that huge, crackdown, they ended up having the change in system to KDP Select, where it went from, you remember, it used to actually be if someone read the first 10% of your book, you were paid from the pool, and it was typically $1.35 to $1.40 to what it is now, where you're being paid per page read. It was crazy because I remember, this is funny, I had actually bought a course from 2 video creators that I'd watched and I really admired, and I was so looking forward to their course finally coming out. And I'd actually got a course before theirs because I was tired of waiting. And so when they finally put out their course, they did it. July 2015, they essentially just closed up shop because this guy was just like, his whole system was based on working the system. And now that methodology no longer worked, he wasn't going to endorse self-publishing or Kindle Direct Publishing. Me, I am an author at heart. I'm a reader at heart. I am invested in this business. I wasn't just looking at this as, well, I'm going to become wealthy with this. That wasn't what was crossing my mind. My thought was, this resonates with me. This fulfills me. I feel like I can achieve something that I feel better about myself at the end of the day. So yeah, it was so crazy. So if you've been around since 2010, you remember those days. You could just publish anything, right? And then it would be okay.
And a lot of it, I think, is because back then also, I know, because I was writing when I was, 16? I was more into fantasy, like epic fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing back then. And I noticed that, like you did have like the big names such as Stephen King, Anne Rice, and whatnot. Yeah. But so similar to how movies are, they still set up all your reading engagements and events that you would go to, and they still had their own market to push out, their own, I guess, money to give you in order to market for you. But nowadays, they want you to have a platform. Like they want you to have so many followers on Facebook or Twitter or whatnot. For even the big 5 publishing companies would accept you. They want to see that you already have like I guess, what would you call it? Proof of concept that you already have.
Yeah. They don't want to just bring in somebody just because they feel they're talented. And I think there's a lot of people that still kind of believe that, hey, if I can just get my awesome manuscript into an agent's hand, that's going to solve all of my problems. Well, that's only half the battle if you want to get into TradPub. I'm not going to speak from a position of experience, but more from just a person who has studied this business long enough. And I've seen some people fall to the wayside, perfectly great and talented people, because they've bought into TradPub and the dream that's within that, and chasing after it and trying to make everything perfect. And it's, hey, if that's what fulfills you, if that's your dream, please don't let me dissuade you from that. By all means, go for it. But I might recommend, what William says right now is, if you've got the ability to produce great quality content, then start building out your following, because that's going to be so much more appealing to a TradPub company. If you've got a following of some sort, there is proof of concept, because otherwise they're going to be like, why do I need to invest in you? I can find somebody else that already has a following, that already has that proof of concept. And also think of it from this position here. If you've got the following, you officially have a higher ground over that TradPub company. Why? Because you have leverage. You go to them just as a talented author, and that's it. You have no leverage whatsoever other than, I've got great work. Oh, awesome. There's a lot of great talented authors out there doing the same thing, but they've leveraged social media. They've built out an email list. They've built a following. So think about it that way. If you happen to be watching this and you're going TradPub all the way, go for it. Just know this, that it's probably a better idea to go ahead, write and publish your content, build your following, and continue to pursue that TradPub deal. Good friend of mine and person on the channel I've had many times before, and also former coaching student, Keith Wheeler. Check out his channel, by the way. Keith Wheeler Books, fantastic, is great information. This guy, and I'm saying this in a good way, this guy just blows me away. He landed a TradPub deal and didn't spend a dime. Did not spend a dime. It was for a kid's book. He literally hired the illustrator on a 50-50 split. He said to him, hey, look, if you do these pictures for my book, let's do a 50-50 split until I pay you off from all the royalties plus X amount more as kind of interest. Illustrator was like, done, let's do it. Little does Keith know, TradPub comes and starts sniffing around, and they were like, we want that book. Here's the kicker. This is the funny part. He actually got a 50-50 royalty split deal he did with Audiobook Creation Exchange, which was amazing, considering it's like, I wouldn't think that would have too much demand. But at any rate, because of that 50-50 royalty split, some people may or may not know that in order to do a 50-50 royalty split, that means that you're going to split 50% of your profits with the narrator, and you're going to take the other 50%. And so with that being said, it has to stay exclusive to that platform unless he goes and buys it out. But Keith, man, always after my heart and always looking to protect my bank account. He's the type of person you can trust with your wallet, because he honestly was like, I'm just going to leave it on 50-50 royalty split. I don't need to buy anything out. He talks to the TradPub company. He says, I'll sell you the rights to the ebook and the print book. You can't have the audiobook. And this guy lands a TradPub deal. This is a self-published author. And so those of you out there that are reluctant and think, oh, well, I read somewhere that if you self-publish your work, no TradPub company is going to pay attention to you. That's not true. It's not true. There are a ton of TradPub companies out there looking for great authors. You just got to be willing to put yourself out there and do the work.
Yeah. I think Amanda Hawking, I think is her name, might have been one of those that started self-publishing and got picked up and went from there. But I believe she's back self-publishing again, though. I don't think she was real happy with
have it
It's
as
pretty
traditional.
wild, right? That sometimes some people discover that the grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. I think a lot of people think that getting that TradPub deal, they're gonna have a big marketing budget, that all they got to do is worry about writing. But the fact of the matter is that most occasions, most instances, and a lot of TradPub deals, they might promote your book right out the gate, but after that, you're on your own and you got to figure out a way to make a living. Guess what? You just pretty much got a glorified self-publishing deal is what ends up happening, because you're going to have to invest in the actual marketing. Another great example here. Let me share with you guys. Good friend of mine and a former guest of the channel. He's got 2.5 million followers on YouTube. His name's Evan Carmichael. Evan actually is a hybrid published author, a fantastic guy. Now, the deal with Evan is he actually has a couple of books that got TradPub. And I think it was a division of Penguin Random House. Don't quote me on that, but it's a large company. But we got to chatting, and he consulted me, and he's like, hey, what do we need to do for marketing? What can we do for marketing? And I'm like, that's a traditionally published book. What? He's like, no. He goes, they're not going to do any marketing. And I'm like, and that was when the reality set into me that not all TradPub deals are created equal. And even for someone with 2.5 million subscribers, and I'm not mincing, it might even be closer to 3 million at this point, Evan has a huge following. You would think they would have parted ways with a little bit of marketing dollars, but that wasn't the case. He had to do it himself. And so hopefully that kind of illustrates a good picture to everybody that you're going to have to do the work either way. It's going to happen in some capacity.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what my journey has been, is trying to figure out the path, I guess. Trying to figure out the path. Like I said, I spent so much money last year trying to figure it out, trying to go through different services. And a lot of people always tell me, you're a good talker, you can talk to people. But I'm like one of those like extreme introvert. It doesn't look like I'm like nervous right now, but I'm constantly like, oh man, I just want to hide in my closet. I just want to put my book out there and then go hide in my closet. Will that work? No, not necessarily. All right, well then, darn. Okay. But
question for you. All right, I'm gonna turn into the host for just a minute here.
Okay.
With you being an extreme introvert, and see, this is what I always try to tell people is, give it a shot, even if you are an introvert. But how do you typically feel after you've done one of these live videos?
Usually I have, it depends even in crowds. If I deal with a lot of crowds or anything like that, I feel exhausted. But afterwards, I think, I'm still kind of happy at it. I mean, it still has a little bit of, what do I call it? What are those people that jump out of planes with a parachute called? Adrenaline something junkies or something.
There you go.
Adrenaline junkies or something like that. But I mean, you still have like a sense of adrenaline and fulfillment. But afterwards, it's still like a exhaustion that I still feel afterwards. Be it videos or a large crowd. And a lot of people always ask me, why are you hiding in your room after this? Because I need some sleep.
It's true.
This mental.
This always blows people away when I tell people that I am largely an introvert. I like staying indoors. It was funny when they had this whole lockdown with pandemic. That part's not funny. But when they're like, stay in your houses, I was like, so I keep doing what I did before.
That's pretty much it. When everybody said stay inside, I was like, oh, okay. Well.
Easy enough. Like I could do courses on this. Like, this is how you stay home and you keep yourself entertained. I guess, as an introvert, to me, I do have extrovert tendencies. The only reason why I have become an extrovert is I've seen in all walks of business that by putting yourself into a position that might be uncomfortable can really help grease the wheels and get your business moving in the proper trajectory. For me, I believe wholeheartedly in networking. So even just talking with you, William and Janelle, I have 2 new friends that I'm able to talk with. Sure, after we're done with this, I'm going to tell you guys that, like, I literally told my wife, I was like, as soon as I'm done with today's interview, I'm done. That's it. I already did all my working for the day. I'd done a video just prior to this that I met up with a client for some pre-production on video. So I'm exhausted. Like literally, as soon as I get off here, I'm gonna shut this off. I'm already sweating, like buckets of sweat. It's just introvert type tendencies.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring this up, and I wanted to kind of say this, William, is when you brought up the introvert thing, I was like, okay, I think there's a lot of authors out there that are very much introverted, and they're like, I don't want to get on camera. Great way to get yourself in front of people and on their mental bandwidth is video, because a lot of people are doing this right now these days. Scroll. Oh, here's a video. I'm going to go ahead and watch this. I'm going to consume this. And yeah, at first you're going to turn that camera on and you're going to feel like you're dying inside. Eventually, once you've done it enough and you've got your reps in, it's much like going to the gym. Sure, when you go to the gym for the first time, you're going to hit that and you're going to be so sore the next day. But then you go to the next day and you're a little less sore and a little less sore and a little less sore. And eventually, yeah, sure, we may not be a fan of going to the gym, but at least we're showing the results. So the thing is get yourself in front of a video camera. Don't be afraid to have a little bit of mustard on your face, mess up a little bit. It's totally fine. Video right now, I think that any author out there that breaks ground in this avenue has the unfair advantage over other authors that do not do that, and especially within their given niche.
Oh, that's a good tip. Thank you. That was a good tip.
So Janelle, are you kind of an introvert, or would you say you're an extrovert?
I'm an extrovert, probably. Yeah.
So you probably resonate just a little bit with how do you typically feel after you've done one of these videos?
Mostly I feel like, well, job well done. We're done. I think we did pretty well, and I'm pleased, and I'm happy we got to meet those people and talk to them. And it kind of makes me happy. I'm just kind of like, yay, let's do this again.
Let's do this again. Yeah.
Like, well, who are we going to have next?
She'll text me, who are we going to have next? It's like, well, hold up. let me get like caught up after this one. So I have to
talking to people. So
there is a great resource I'll tell for you guys and also those that are watching this. So if you've got a podcast and you're looking for guests, or you're a guest that's looking for a podcast, I'm not being paid. I'm not sponsored to say this. They don't even know me for that matter. Podcastguests.com. Get signed up to their free email newsletter. They got premium service. I've used their premium service. I was not impressed by it. I got the same results through their premium as I did through their free stuff. But get yourself signed up. They do a twice per week email newsletter to where they'll show guests that are looking for podcasts, and then podcasts that are looking for guests. Now, there's going to be a lot of sifting. So every Monday and Thursday, you'll get an email in your inbox. Look at it immediately. Don't wait, because they have 30,000 subscribers on their email list, last I heard. And I'm sure it continues to grow. So naturally, a lot of podcasts that get featured on there, if you're looking for somewhere to be a guest in, they're going to fill up really fast. There's been some times where I've applied for one and I didn't get into the podcast for about 6 months. So look at podcast guests. If you guys are looking for guests, and if you're a guest looking for a podcast, get subscribed to that. Honestly, it's one of those things that I really, really love. And I've even said it in one of my books too, where I'm like, go to podcastguests.com. Honestly, I've landed easily dozens of interviews through their service.
Okay.
Wow.
I wanted to ask you a question, and this course is going to be directed towards new writers.
Okay.
Do you go to writing conventions and seminars? Now, I imagine if you do, you're probably as a speaker, but do you go just for yourself to meet new people, to senior moment, to network?
Yeah.
And things like that? And do you suggest that new writers do this, or do you think they should wait until maybe they get a little bit more experience under their belt? I mean, how do you feel about that? What's your advice to them on that?
Okay, so this is going to shock the heck out of you. You guys are going to be blown away. I've never been, except for one occasion, I've never been to a self-publishing conference or a writing conference before. It sounds shameful. You would think a guy who's had like over 700 videos on YouTube and he knows everybody within the business and such, that it would have been. The thing is, I don't know, for whatever reason, when I broke into the business, I couldn't afford any conferences. So by the time I could afford something was probably closer to about 2017 when the YouTube channel started taking off. My thought process was, I want to learn more about video at the time because I was addicted. I really loved the results. I was happy with self-publishing and doing the books that way. But ultimately, I ended up going to video creator conferences. I mean, lots of them over the past few years. In fact, so much so, I had a conversation with, you guys might know the Kindlepreneur, Dave Chesson. And Dave was like, so what conferences are you going to be going to? And I was like, none. Like, you're not going to go to any conferences? And I'm like, and I had no reason, honestly, at this point, because it's no longer like it's not like I can't afford it. I can afford it. And the video creator conferences, a lot of people know me in the video creator space, so you would think I would be a better fit for the writing and self-publishing. So I said, going in from 2019 to 2020, I was like, New Year's resolution. From now on, I'm going to all self-publishing and writing conventions and conferences. You guys know what happened in 2020, right? So when I finally pulled the trigger, I'm like, shoot. Now, there are a couple of conferences that you can go to here this year, but I was like, let's just finish out this dumpster fire of an era here between 2020 and 2021. Easy for me to say. And going into 2022, I'll probably be a lot more devoted. I haven't been invited as a speaker, not that I would be against it, but I think at this point, the main reason why I go to conferences, and it was a roundabout way of me kind of answering this, is I go to conferences to network. It is a very lonely business being an online entrepreneur, much less a self-published author. Don't go it alone. Don't wait either. If you have the discretionary expense or the time, then go to those conferences. Talk to people. Don't be a wallflower like you normally are. Just reinvent yourself. You go to those conferences, you just say from now on, no, I don't stand in the back of the room and ignore people. I will legitimately turn to the person right to the right of me and to the left of me, and I'm going to shake their hand and I'm going to introduce myself. We'll probably elbow bump so that way we can maintain the whole social distance stuff. But nonetheless, though, it's just a great opportunity for you to get out there and introduce yourself to more people. Your network is going to be the thing that's going to raise you up. Look at how many people you have in your direct network. How many people do you know that are in this industry or around this industry? If it's only enough to fit on one paper, get to work, because you probably need to have a full journal full of people's names and numbers and people to contact. What is their strong suit? How can they help you? How can you help them? So on and so forth. So get out to any conferences that you can. Now, Janelle, I know you're saying, okay, newbie authors, you say they should go. Chances are very likely they don't have discretionary expense. And I'm glad you thought that. I got you on this one. There are going to be other opportunities for people that don't have as much discretionary expense. But if you have the time, what I would recommend is reach out to any conference organizers and be willing to volunteer, because volunteers get in for free. And the funniest thing is, I actually met my video editor who works on all my videos for the past year and a half now, Dan Norton. I met him at a video creator conference because he volunteered as the assistant to the person who ran the entire conference. The two of us hit it off really well. We kept in contact. And when the time came and I was getting frustrated from doing editing for my videos, and I was like, I want to write more, I want to publish more, I want to do more stuff, I just don't want to edit anymore. And he came in and filled that need. So just remember, there's going to be opportunities that you allow yourself. If you go to these conferences, if you can't afford it, volunteer. If for some reason you don't have the time or you don't have discretionary expense, then try to find a way to make it work, because it will be life-changing if you just allow yourself to be in a situation like that. So I'm glad you asked that. And it's also a great way. I know someone's going to hold me accountable, because they're going to watch this video and they're going to go, hey, didn't you say you were going to go to conferences in 2022? I am. Just know it's not going to be like every single month. I'll probably pick 2-3 conferences tops.
Yeah. I was hoping to pick some up towards the end of this year, maybe.
Yeah, gotcha. Hopefully, next year, I'm hoping to finally go to some places and as actual what do you call it, the book cons and all that stuff, in where my first indie publisher. It was Ed Souter over there. Was it North and South Carolina over there? They seem to have a lot over there, so
North
I want to go
Carolina's
to
a
some of
hotbed.
those and maybe
Tennessee.
network. Yeah, you're Ohio, right?
You're
So-
right. Yes. Yep.
So-
Ohio.
Yeah, because
Is it-
you're in the same timeline I am, right? Aren't you? Central time.
Yep. No,
Okay.
I'm Eastern. I'm Eastern. No.
Oh,
sorry.
okay. You're Eastern. Okay.
Eastern, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was trying to figure out the timing there. I was like, oh, okay. Get everybody's time just right, because I know some interviewees we have are like one side of the coast to the next, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure out a middle point here.
Right.
But
Gotcha.
I was wondering, I know, not to get on a negative side of things, but I was wondering because there are so many books constant coming out, and I asked this question to another guest that we had.
Yeah.
I think I read about 1 million books coming out every year, and then I also see that a little bit of the readership is going down. One of my biggest questions I keep asking and keep looking at, just because, like I said, I'm trying to find that path myself in order to get out there and get the books into people's hands that hopefully will enjoy them. For new authors coming into the industry, do you think it's still worth it with so much competition and so much white noise and marketing and being pushed out there for them to go through this hurdle and hassle of, I guess, trying to get their book out there? How do you see it?
This is a very loaded question, so I'm just going to kind of give you how I feel. It's not as easy as it once was, but it depends on what you want to get out of it. What is your goal in writing and publishing a book? That's going to be the first thing, is you want to get it out of the way. If you just want to get it to where you're like, hey, I want to publish my book with the really horrible cover on it because I'm just going to give it out to friends and family. But if you're the type of person that's beyond just being a hobbyist, that you're like, I want to make X amount of dollars per month, or I want to become a full-time author, then you need to temper your expectations with the reality that's going to require a lot of upfront work. And in some instances, discretionary expense, any kind of money or budget you can put into it, obviously will help a little bit. But when I got into it, you can clearly see that I didn't hire a cover designer or anything else like that, but I made it work. So I hear the word often said. People will say, is the market saturated? Saturation would mean that there are more products than there are customers. And to be honest with you, there are still tons of customers that are still discovering places like Amazon or Apple or even their local library. So saturation, honestly, I don't even think that is a thing right now. It's really honestly not. Being heard above the noise is a whole different aspect in itself.
Yeah.
Because we can't just publish and say everybody's going to start coming in and buying our book. Okay.
Yeah.
It used to be the Wild West back in, 2010. You could publish anything you wanted to and make hand over fist money like you would never believe. But those days are gone, because back then there was a lot of, I would call them loopholes. A lot of things that people were able to kind of work around, where they were able to work the system and become successful. Now it's a lot more dialed in. It requires a lot more finesse, and it requires, first of all, patience, and most importantly, persistence. Because if you really want to break out and be heard above the noise, you got to do what others won't, so you get what others don't. So it's the bottom line. So is it worth it? It just depends on the value that you see in becoming a published author. And if you see that, hey, that's too much work, I don't want it, then it's not worth it. But if you're the type of person, I believe in my story, I am going to hedge all my bets on myself, then chances are very likely this business is going to be for you. Just know that you're going to need to batten down the hatches and get ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work.
That's a great answer.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, because like I said, I think you're absolutely correct in that sense. I tell a lot of new writers, you to think that they're just going to publish a book and it's going to be out there. And first of all, it starts with the book itself. Get the writing correct, get the editing, get the proofreading. You got to make it a diamond. Then you got to dig that diamond out of the sand, and that's when the real work begins. I think is because marketing is something that I did just for regular small businesses, and then I moved into social marketing, and I see that I do a lot for a lot of the small businesses and on my photography and whatnot. Book has been one of the hardest ones for me to actually get that grasp on. And my other question would be, if a person had a main platform, what do you think the main platform to get you started in would be? Because I know I tested out like Facebook, I tested out Amazon, even the Amazon keywords, and then Twitter, Instagram was a little interesting. If you had one choice, where would you do your marketing?
Start with the path of least resistance. Understand where your market's going to be at and where is it going to be that you don't have to invest as much money, because you got to be smart about how you're investing in your stuff. I'm assuming when you say Amazon keywords, you're probably talking about Amazon advertising.
Yeah.
Amazon advertising, if you're publishing your book, that should be the first place to start. Go into Amazon advertising. And there's been some people out there that hem and haw and say Amazon advertising isn't for fiction books. That is a load of baloney. Okay. It is for both fiction and nonfiction book. There are people that are crushing it in both types of writing. So it's going to be up to you to learn. And there's a steep learning curve. Though, I got to put it this way, though. It's much easier to learn Amazon advertising versus places like Facebook or Google, because it seems like you have to have a freaking degree just to understand some of their stuff. Amazon advertising is a lot more transparent. There's a lot of lessons out there you can pick up on. Even Amazon advertising puts out a couple tutorials on their own channel. There are so many things that you can kind of learn through Amazon advertising. And the reason why I go to Amazon advertising, whenever someone asks me what is the marketing platform they should shoot for, Amazon advertising, what I say, if your book is available there, this is why. When you go to Facebook or you to go Google and you're starting out fresh with ads, you are starting with a complete cold audience. People are going to Google, not necessarily to look for books or anything else like that. They're just looking for solutions to the problems. Same thing goes Facebook. I'm just going to go on there to see what my grandma's cooking up for supper, and she's going to post some pictures. Do they still do that? I'm going to go on there to watch a cat video on Facebook Watch. I'm not going there to buy a book. So you're already working upstream. Now, that's not to say you could still run effective ads through Google and Facebook. You can, please, by all means. But you look at Amazon advertising. People go to Amazon for what? To buy products. They're warm buyers. They're already there with the intent to purchase things.
Yeah.
So when you serve an ad to them, and Amazon has this down to a science when it comes to how they serve the ads, because the ads, they look like they're part of search volume. They look like they're part of a page. You don't think to yourself, anybody inside the business, we all know, it says sponsored next to it. It's an ad. Okay. Most people are scrolling through. They're going to block out that sponsored thing. They're going to be like, well, they don't know what sponsored mean. So of course it perfectly blends into that page. So when someone searches up, let's say for instance, health and fitness, and it pulls up my ad there for one of my workout books, they're going to go, oh, let me go ahead and take a look at this. Oh, this is right up my alley. I'm going to go ahead and buy this. So I would say dollar for dollar, and especially the time you're going to invest, Amazon advertising is one of the most effective ways to do it if you're publishing through Amazon. I'm very real, and I understand not everyone publishes through Amazon, but for the vast majority of us, quite a few of us do this. So Amazon advertising is your answer.
Yeah. Hey, all you new writers, did you get that out there?
Yeah.
Listen.
And I will agree with him on that. After all the money I spent, I actually had the biggest ROI was from Amazon ads after reading his book, of course. So pick up Dale's book. It's really good information on that. And also with did he change it? It used to be KDP Rocket. I think he
Publisher Rocket now.
Publisher Rocket.
Yeah.
Publisher Rocket and anything to do with Amazon. So far, I've had the largest ROI on those. So yeah, I will agree on Amazon. The second one was Facebook, but Facebook eats up so much.
Oh, doesn't it though? Yeah, it
Yeah.
just breaks your heart after a while. It does
Yeah.
work though, because I had a client of mine earlier this year. I was working with him, and he had admitted to me in November he had a Christian inspirational book, if I can recall, of some sort, and he was putting about $20 per day in ad spend on his book through Facebook ads, and he's putting in $20, and he's really just seeing a sale here and a sale there. He was way into the red. There was, black was way out of sight at this point. So he was putting in all that time. And then for whatever reason, I think I was coaching him February, March might've been about the time this year. He decided he started seeing more sales. So he said, let me double my budget. And then he said it opened up like a faucet. It was like he just started having sales rain down. His Christian book came number one in numerous categories. It was in the top 1,000 books on Amazon.
Wow.
The dude crushed it. But I will tell you, his is the only story I can think of over the past, 2014 that I've heard anybody have breakthrough success that I actually knew. I mean, you have people of likes like, say, Mark Dawson and Joanna Penn that probably just absolutely crushed it on Facebook ads. But the vast majority of us are still just kind of like going, you took my money. Where's my book sale?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're eating up my money, but I'm getting $1 back. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
$2
right.
every dollar.
You said that you coached him on that?
I wish I could tell you I did. He did a lot of the Facebook ads himself. I am not a Facebook ads expert, and I am almost always quick to tell people that's something I started really learning, and I even worked with a coach about a few weeks ago because I'm trying to learn the process a lot better, so I know the better how I can guide other people. But this particular client, no, I can't take any of that success. I was able to help him implement other areas of his business, but Facebook ads, dude crushed it. I was absolutely proud of him. I was like, dude, look at you, the top of the Amazon sellers list. And it's one thing you get number one in some random category because you sold one copy, but he was selling dozens of copies. He was doing so well that they even offered him access to the Great on Kindle program. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Great on Kindle. It's an invite-only program for specific books that they see promise in and that they like. And they give special royalties and special marketing opportunities for books that are listed in Great on Kindle. So that was really cool when I saw that. And he even was like, I didn't even know about this program. And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome, but it's invite only. So don't think you're going to put out and be like, I'm going to get on Great on Kindle. It's if Amazon decides that they're going to put you on there.
It's like one of those hidden things. I never even heard about it. I was like, what? Huh, that's crazy.
Yeah, next time you're
got
on
an invite to this, that's like, who are you?
Yeah, the next time that you're on Amazon and you're looking through ebooks, it's just ebooks, obviously, since it's Kindle in it. You'll see it's like a gray tag. It'll be right about in their description area, and it'll say Great on Kindle, and it'll explain what Great on Kindle is and such. But yeah, it's a pretty unique category. It was started about, I know I reported it on the channel, so it was probably about 4 years ago. There's got to be a news segment that I did where I was talking about Great on Kindle.
Oh, that puts a new wrinkle in my brain.
Yeah. Oh, I got a few of those you want.
Yeah. I can't remember. Did you have, did you have Brian Meeks on one of your shows?
I have. Yep. Brian is actually a good friend of mine, and he's actually going to be making more guest appearances. In fact, I was telling you I was working on pre-production for a video series today. Brian's part of that series. He'll be in it.
Okay.
What a fantastic guy. He knows his way around Amazon ads, and he's excellent at writing ad copy for your book description.
I'm hoping I'm talking about the right one because I get two of them confused because I think they both have the last name.
Right. There's probably Brian Meeks, and there's also Brian Cohen. They're both great at book descriptions.
Cohen. There we go. Brian Meeks and Brian Cohen. I think Brian Cohen is the one that I sent our book to in order to try out the, what do you call it, the synopsis, the taglines and all that stuff.
I think it's
Right.
Best Page Forward is the name of his
Yeah,
service.
Best Page Forward. That one is a really good
I don't think
service right there.
he didn't respond though, did he? I don't.
Which one? No, I was Brian. I think one of them I can only contact him on Facebook, and I couldn't.
That's
contact
Brian
him.
Meeks.
Yeah,
That's
Brian
Brian for
Meeks.
sure.
Yeah, so I couldn't get a hold of him on Facebook. So I went with Cohen on his. Hopefully they'll be like, oh, so I was second choice. No, I was just trying.
I'm telling Brian Cohen right now, he's going to be so disappointed.
Well, because I bought Meek's book and I was reading that. I really loved. Me and Janelle actually tried to do similar concepts as his book was. I brought up the information to Janelle and I said, you know what, we really should do this right here. And the way I learned about him was through your channel. Actually, I learned a lot of stuff through your channel. to be candid, right there. I mean. But especially with the Kindle Rocket, I think you were talking about Dave, and Dave I had seen before.
Yeah.
And because he got a lot of videos out there as well, and I was always doing my research and trying to get my book seen by people. And he's like, "Hey, I got this nifty software. It's called KDP Rocket back in the day." I'm not really sure when he rebranded.
It was about a year and a half, 2 years ago. He switched it over to Publisher Rocket because they are going to start to include other marketplaces outside of Amazon. He's already announced this, so I don't feel like I'm announcing this too soon. They're trying to cover as many of the Amazon markets as they can because right now Publisher Rocket covers US, it does UK, and it does Germany. They're looking to expand in other regions, but they're going to include other marketplaces like Apple, Barnes and Noble, so on and so forth. And anybody that's not familiar with what Publisher Rocket is actually software that helps you out finding keywords, categories, and even helps you out in doing Amazon ads. He has it still called the AMS keywords tool because it used to be called Amazon Marketing Services. And he's not changing anytime soon. I guess that even the verbiage of AMS is even showed on Amazon Advertising's landing page still. So they haven't forgotten it altogether. But all that to say this, though, Publisher Rocket, fantastic tool. Is it a necessity for everybody? No. But if you know somebody who has it, become good friends with them.
Yeah, it's I love that tool. It helped me a lot from having to go from page to page, writing down the categories, figuring out what categories certain bestsellers are, and so certain keywords. It's just amazing tool. It saves you a lot of time. I would say that. So anybody who is interested, definitely look that program up. It's one of my biggest successes right there. It is 4:53. So Janelle, you have any other questions?
I do. I have one question that this is directed back towards new writers again, but I was watching one of your videos, Dale, and you mentioned typesetters. You said something about hiring a typesetter.
Mm-hmm.
So for brand new writers, can you tell us what they are, what they do? Can you explain that to brand new writers a little bit?
So don't let it overwhelm you, and you'll find most instances that's actually an old term, typesetter. Essentially what they are responsible for is making your interior look as impeccable and as readable as possible. When I had here's a very fun way to look at things. I actually did this whole book in Microsoft Word. And at the time I formatted as I thought was fit. And I went ahead and I submitted to that offset publisher, as I had told you, the printer, and he published it out. And the very first thing he looked at was like, don't do left alignment. And I'm like, what do you mean? What am I supposed to do? Right align, center? And he's like, no, you got to justify. It needs to fill out in a full, like almost block paragraph style. He says it makes it more readable. And he said, and also you need to look out for widows and orphans. And widows and orphans work like this. It's where you have a single line of a single word that trails off on another page or is at the very end of a paragraph. It creates weird dissension in the readability of your stuff. You might not think that isn't very much, but to a reader subconsciously, when they see those types of things, they start to tune that out.
Yeah.
So typesetters are actually able to get it to where they can do all the work. They do the layout. It looks beautiful. No widows, no orphans. It's all readable, and it looks beautiful when it's all said and done. So typesetters is a fancy way of saying they make your interior look like gold. And you've already gotten this far. Don't do what Dale did and just go ahead and release just any old type format. Try to hire a professional if you can. And you will look for somebody that can do book interior design, because that's most times people, they're graphic designers is essentially what they are, because there's a lot of typesetters that currently use programs like Adobe. Oh gosh, why is it slipping my mind right now?
Adobe
One of the
Senior moment.
senior moment. My gosh, this early.
This early.
But all that to say this, getting a good interior graphic designer is a good idea. So InDesign, that's it.
Okay,
Adobe
it's
InDesign.
very
Thank you
InDesign.
so much.
Well, thank you for that tip. That was this has been an excellent program, and you've given us us and our viewers as new writers have given us so many things to think about and things to look at and investigate and research. And thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it. I've got one request. Are we wrapping things up?
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes left. So
Okay, so before we disconnect, allow me to do one thing. I'm going to do one thing, and anybody who's watching this and that follows me, stay to the end.
okay. But pretty much I think that is like how Janelle said, it's a great show. I'm so glad you came on. Hopefully
Thank you.
we'll have some future shows where you'll come again, and
Doors open for sure.
Well,
Just drop me a line. This has been a blast. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, just look me up on YouTube, Self Publishing with Dale. If you forget that, just look up selfpublishingwithdale.com. You'll find out all the stuff, everything from my podcast to my books to the way to contact me, selfpublishingwithdale.com. If anybody has made it this far in the broadcast and you're a follower of me, do me a huge favor. If you've made it this far, you get a big bonus banana sticker. All right. I've got them right here. All right. If you go ahead and put into the chat 4 banana stickers and 3 smiling emoji faces inside the chat right there. So if you made it this far, you get yourself a gold banana sticker. All right. And that would be really, really awesome to help support these guys.
There you go. Can't get better than that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
all right. Here we go. Ending broadcast. Oh yeah, you know what? Just before I forget, for anybody else out there who want to see me and Janelle's books, you can find us under WJR Parks and Janelle Coberly on Kindle, KDP, and I'm also on Barnes and Nobles, Apple, and what is it, Kobo? I always forget that one. So. Yeah, please look us up, and hopefully you would like vampire stories, because that's what I write. Me and Janelle write that together, and eventually she's still working on her
Half Angels.
Half Angel.
Half Angel. That's my Leonette girl. That's my girl.
Yeah, her Half Angel girl right there. So show them the book just in case. Do you have the book with you?
Hey, yes, I do.
There you go, right there.
Nice cover.
The Reckoning.
Will did this. He did a beautiful job.
I'm my other designs of book cover designs. All right. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you on the next show, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.